for which I am grateful. Although I am not a member of a political science faculty, the Hardy Fellows of the School of Public and International Affairs, SPIA's American Founding Group at the University of Georgia, led by Keith Doherty, were kind enough to read and comment on the manuscript in its later stages. To Keith, Mike Taylor, and the members of the group, I offer my thanks. All errors are, of course, my own. Introduction. A Civil War of, by, and for lawyers. The United States and the Confederate States of America engaged in combat to defend distinct legal regimes and the social order they embodied and protected. Considering the arguments on both sides, one could find in the Constitution grounds to assert the Union's perpetuity or reasons on which to base its dissolution. During the war, rival legal concepts of insurrection, a civil war within a nation, and belligerency, war between sovereign enemies, vied for adherence in federal and Confederate councils. In A Nation of Laws, such martial legalism was not surprising, no more so than that the nation's lawyer politicians, men who went from the practice of law into politics, found themselves at the center of the maelstrom. For these men, as for their countrymen in the years following the conflict, the sacrifices of the war gave legitimacy to new kinds of laws defining citizenship and civil rights. The war would affect almost all of the nation's lawyers. In 1860, according to the U.S. Census, some 101,000 men out of a free white male adult population of over 7 million. Many rushed to the colors. Others found jobs in the greatly expanded bureaucracies of the two governments. A few, the subjects of this book, played an even more important role. In positions of leadership, they struggled to make sense of the conflict, and in the course of that struggle began to glimpse a new world of law. It was a law that empowered as well as limited government, a law that conferred personal dignity and rights on those who at the war's beginning could claim neither in law, but not at first. For at first, adherence to an old Constitution, in the words of Lincoln's first inaugural address, constrained the legal imagination. In the summer of 1862, former Supreme Court Justice Benjamin R. Curtis was troubled for this very reason. A Whig in politics, with a large and successful legal practice, he joined the U.S. Supreme Court in 1851 and served for 6 years. After he resigned his post on the court following a bitter dispute with Chief Justice Roger Taney in 1857 and returned to his thriving and prestigious private practice in Boston, he supported the candidacy of Abraham Lincoln and opposed secession. But in 1862, Curtis had become worried that Lincoln overstepped his constitutional role in proposing to emancipate slaves in Confederate territory. Rooted in the ground of the old Constitution, Curtis wrote what amounted to a legal brief against Lincoln's broad assumption of executive wartime powers. The short book became a bestseller among Northern Democrats and caused Lincoln genuine pain. Curtis's was a valedictory for an older jurisprudence of limited central government. Republicans like Lincoln had pledged themselves to it during the presidential campaign, but as New York Democrat Samuel Tilden, a lawyer-politician who supported Stephen Douglas's bid for the highest office, warned during the 1860 campaign, some Republicans seemed overly willing to interfere with the affairs of other communities and to seek to regulate and control them as they rightfully do their own. The danger of such interference was that it unbalanced the division of powers between federal and state governments embedded in the old Constitution. Curtis saw President Lincoln's actions coming dangerously close to this state of affairs. The exchange between Curtis and Lincoln in 1862 was virtual litigation, one of the many critical occasions when the lawyers in the Civil War employed their talents to vie for approval in the court of public opinion. In that endless summer of battle, with the fate of the Union hanging by a thread, Lincoln sought legal ways to justify his course of action, and Curtis decried the seeming illegality of Lincoln's acts. Both men were lifelong practitioners of law, and both made sense of the crisis in legal terms. They were not alone in this. At the very center of the federal and Confederate governments, lawyers, as lawyers, played a vital role in the Civil War era. Their ideas and acts were not confined to formal pleadings in courtrooms or the language